Hello and welcome to another episode of My Football Story from the Honest Football Podcast. I'm Charlie Betts, and joining me this week is non-league legend Richard Pacquette. Now, Richard is most probably known for his goal for Havant Waterlooville against Liverpool at Anfield in the fourth round of the FA Cup. However, Richard began his career at QPR, went on to play for them in a playoff final at the Millennium Stadium, and had an illustrious career both in the Football League and non-league football. Richard was really honest about his journey, an incredible person to talk to, and I really hope you enjoyed the interview. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and you can follow us and all of our content on Twitter at HonestFootballFree. And I'm delighted to say that Richard has joined me now. Richard, I really appreciate you giving up your time to speak to us today. Obviously, I know it's quite busy at the minute, so I really thank you for doing that.
No problem, mate. No problem.
So I know you've had some stand-up moments in your career, which we'll get onto a bit later on, playing at Anfield, the Millennium Stadium and stuff. But what we always like to do with any professional we've had on is go back to where that began for you. So what is your sort of first memory of football, whether it be playing or watching a game, or where did it all begin for you, the love of the beautiful game, really?
It started when I was younger. My dad used to play decent level semi-pro, non-league football.
Right.
He played for Wembley and then Northwood. He used to take me on a Saturday to go and watch him, and it just started from there, the love of the game.
Do you remember the first game that you actually sort of remember playing in, like whether it be kids football or anything like that?
Yeah, I used to play in the local community side as well as my primary school, and then I started playing for Northwood as well. I joined the under-8s team,
right? And
then from there it just kicked on. I had the bug for it, and I went to play all the time.
So obviously, you made a career as a striker, but were you a forward when you were a kid, or different positions or anything like that, or?
Yeah, well, I played a lot of five-a-side when I was younger, growing up. I used to play out front. On my district, I used to play on the right wing.
Right. Oh, okay.
So I used to play on the right wing for my district and up front for QPR in the academy on a Saturday. So I could do the both.
Yeah.
I used to be quick and with the ball. So
best of both worlds. Do you remember the first game you ever went, like professional game you went to watch? I know obviously you said about watching your dad, but
It might have been an Arsenal game,
Right.
At the old Wembley Stadium.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Of course. Yeah. When they were
Champions League game. Yeah. I think that was my first professional game.
Right.
I'm not quite sure. Yeah.
That's not a bad one. Were you obviously you went on to play professionally? We'll get onto the bit about QPR in a minute. But what I'm always sort of interested in is when you were at school, were you that much better than everyone else in your sort of year group, or like what was it like? Or do you a bit later on at developing?
Yeah. To be fair, in my school, I was probably the best in my year group.
Yeah.
To be fair, there was another guy, one of my mates. He was at Arsenal as well.
Right.
For Arsenal, but I was the best guy. I scored all the goals, so that was the best.
No, fair play. Obviously, it turned out to be worked out well in that sense. But so you mentioned obviously QPR. Like, how did that come about? Were your other clubs? Did you go on trial elsewhere, or was it sort of the first club that you sort of shown interest to? You went to?
Obviously, I said I played for my district. I played for Brent. I ended up getting scouted for Norwich. Roy Massey scouted me. There's a few of us. There's a few of the Brent players that played for Norwich. We have it in the different age groups, so go up weekends and during half terms and stuff. And then I was there for a bit, and then it started filtering away, and it's too far.
Yeah.
So then I dropped out, and then I started playing Sunday football. We set up a Sunday league side called Ramwood, and it was most of my school team. It was the best in Brent. So yeah, so we just set up our own side, and then it went from there. And then my cousin Kevin, he used to play for QPR, and I used to go watch him Sundays. My year group was most of the players I played for county with.
Right.
So they all played in my year group at QPR. QPR had a lot of Middlesex County players in their side.
Yeah.
And then one day I just asked the manager, can I come training? And then he said, yeah. It was near the end of the season. And then I never looked back from there.
Yeah. What's it like then, sort of growing up in an academy? You obviously went on to live the dream and play professionally, but I suppose at that stage, because I suppose you're playing as part of a team, but then you're trying to get a contract, aren't you? At the end of the day, what's that sort of like? How do you approach that as a player?
It was hard because in an academy, when I joined it, everyone was close. Everyone knew each other, and then we was a centre of excellence back then. Right. And then we started going into the academy stuff. Started coming, and we started going into academy. And then when I knew it was getting serious, when I started seeing we was getting players from other clubs,
right?
Like we signed players from Charlton, players from West Ham, and I looked and I thought they're preparing something good. Obviously, they were going to academy to want a stronger side. So I just knew it was going to be competitive, and knew I was going to do some close friends, but I was just focusing on my job and trying to do what I had to do. I came late, so I had a point to prove to myself.
if you don't mind me asking, do you think that gave you a slight advantage in a sense because you'd maybe played football? Because, you get some lads, I can't speak for definite, but, you get some boys who maybe have been in an academy since they were sort of 7, 8 years old. I mean, nowadays you can get them even younger, can't you? But, and maybe haven't played football outside of that. Do you think you almost had that advantage of, these different experiences, like you were saying, growing up playing?
Yeah, and I think that my experience at Norwich helped me as well because I already had a slight taste of it being at Norwich and then leaving because of the travelling and it went a bit cold over there. So, and playing Sunday football as well. So I had that hunger and that drive, and I always believed I was good enough because I was playing. I was in my county side, and I was keeping some of the players that play for QPR that in my year group out of the county side. So I knew I was good enough. Yeah,
well, you obviously were good enough because you then went on to play professionally for QPR. Just in terms of I suppose once you obviously get that contract and that, what's the difference between, say, under 18s football and then when you go to play in the first team? Because obviously, you live the dream of playing professional football. What in terms of the actual footballing parts of it, what is the biggest difference, would you say, between the two?
To be fair, there's a difference, but I was quite fortunate because I was doing so well. So at the age of, when I was the first year, I did play under 19, so I was playing above my age.
Yeah.
So against bigger players, so it sort of put me in good stead. But then when I got into the first team, I made my debut. It was just faster.
Yeah.
You don't get time on the ball, and you have to be brave.
Yeah.
And the mistakes are more crucial at this level.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I had good pros around me, and they settled me down. And then the following season was much easier because I was not going to be my first full season in the first team. So, but my first shot of first team football was when I went on loan to Stevenage.
Yeah, I was going to say, so in terms of that, how much of a choice do you get as a young player in terms of going out on loan? Did the club just say, right, you're going here? Well, do you get a choice, basically? I'm sort of getting at in that sense.
Yeah, well, you have your agent. If your manager says, I want you to go and get some games, obviously the club's going to see what fits for you as well. But if your agent can see what's going to be good for you as well, that also helps. But for me, it was like Ian Holloway just said, you need to go and get some games. I'm going to send you along for 3 months. Go Stevenage. It's the manager. It's the youngest side. It's fit you. So I said, fine. I went there. I knew a couple of players there. But my first Conference Premier League game, I was looking at the clock, and I was going to see half time, and it's only 10 minutes gone. It was fast, frantic.
Really?
Yeah, and I was blowing, and I was thinking, I train every day, but I was blowing, Yeah. And then, but after a couple of games.
As a striker, because we've interviewed quite a few pros, but not actually that many strikers. In terms of your mentality of going from, like you're saying, when you're playing in under 19s to then first team football, if you miss a chance or something like that, whether it be a 1-on-1 or something, does that play on you like, right, I'm not going to get many more of these at this level? Or I suppose how do you sort of approach that if something doesn't quite? Because I suppose I'd imagine maybe in the youth ranks you'd get a bit more chances and things. That's from someone on the outside. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, you get more chances in the youth level. I was pretty potent at youth level. Everything I touched is going. But I knew once I got in the first team, I ain't gonna get chances like that.
No.
But you're gonna be waiting for that right opportunity. But the type of striker I am, I only need half a yard to try and get my shot off, and I'll shoot from anywhere. So, and I got a decent strike on me. So I always just think all I need is one chance. I always had in my mind, even if I miss one, I'll get another. And I always tell myself, you don't miss no more than 3 good chances. The third one, you put it away. So that's what I have in my head all this, even to this day.
It's fascinating to hear that because, to be honest, you don't really get the chance to hear that about, because I think as a lot better than me, but playing as a forward, or a striker, sorry, there's so much more pressure, isn't there, on your sort of decision making and all of that. So it's a fascinating mentality. So I appreciate you sort of being so honest about that. Obviously, you mentioned your manager at QPR, Ian Holloway, and I'm not after any dirt or anything, but we have like a perception from the outside of him of being a bit of a madcap sort of bloke. And I suppose I just wanted to know, is that true when you're working with him as well, or is he a bit more, methodical? He is.
He's out there. I can give you a story.
Okay, right.
When the ice baths first started coming up, we ground share with wasps, but their training ground was the same with us. So every morning we got the wasps up. They started doing ice baths. So we in our training ground, shower room and loads of baths as well. So we used to get the big bags of ice, and then everyone was scared. Like everyone didn't want to go in because it's freezing. Yeah, people going in with socks and all sorts. And he came in and goes, "It's not cold. It's not cold." Jumped into the bath, dunked his whole body like underneath all the ice and that, and got out. He goes, "It's not cold," and just ran out the showers. You know what I mean? So like things like that, and even training when you see people training with gloves
Yeah.
and stuff. He'd be like, it's not cold. He'd take off his jacket, top, and it'd be freezing, and be in his t-shirt and shorts, and he goes and run around the field like that.
I suppose it's. I suppose you need that, don't you? Some days, though, but
Yeah.
maybe more so. But yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think we obviously get a picture from the outside of him being. But is there a tactical side to him as well? Because we obviously get that impression that it's a lot of laughs and jokes.
I'll say he's a good motivator, enthusiastic, and things like that. Like we used to do, was well drilled. For him, it was him and Kenny Jackett. Ken Jackett was the assistant manager. Kenny used to do a lot of technical coaching and that, but we used to know the week planned out. So we used to do always back four, midfield four against the rest. So it'd be distances, constantly well drilled set pieces. So he's very organised and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's good. He's done well for himself. And I think he's got better where he's learned, where he's probably made mistakes along the way. So
yeah,
he's done well.
No, thank you for sort of opening up about that. I appreciate that. Obviously, as part of then your time at QPR after some loans, you obviously then got to play. Got a good run in the team and played in the playoff final. And it must have been an incredible experience. But what was that day like for you and sort of the surrounding sort of parts? I know, unfortunately, it was a loss, wasn't it? But as an individual,
it was good. To be fair, we travelled up the day before. We trained. I done well in the semi-final. Both legs coming off the bench and doing my thing. Yeah, I'll be on the bench. Come on. So he's pulled me and he's gone, Rich, I'm starting you tomorrow.
Right.
And you done well since you come back. You changed the game in the second leg. I'm going to give you a run. And Andy Thompson was struggling with a bit of injury as well.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Andy Thompson was brilliant. He goes, just go and enjoy it. You know what I mean? So that I kept it to myself. I didn't tell like none of my family until like just before we was leaving, before we was going to the stadium. So I slept all right. I was more relaxed. I knew I was going to play, and then I was just focused on trying to do well for the side. But unfortunately, it didn't happen that day. But it was a great day, great experience.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's one thing to be a professional footballer and playing in any sort of level, but then to obviously play at somewhere like that in that kind of magnitude. Is there, if you don't mind me asking a slightly personal question, is there an element of nerves? I know you obviously spoke about your mentality being quite a positive player, but just given the whole magnitude of the game, do you get nervous, or are you that well drilled as a professional that it just doesn't make a difference, doesn't feel any different?
There is probably nerves in there, but didn't feel the nerves. Like I was more excited. In my head, I'm just thinking, this is my time to show people what I can do and what I work hard. So that's when I think the nerves come out. But there's one game, but you probably touch on it later in your questions.
Yeah,
I did feel a bit of nerves.
Yeah. I think we'll get to that in that sense. But yeah, I can only imagine what that must feel like. But I think it's I think you've highlighted something to us that we as people who've never played professionally don't really understand, is the mental resilience you need to be a professional footballer. I think probably from the outside, you can talk about player A's talent and all of this, but I think you've just touched upon that, particularly maybe even more so as a striker, actually.
Yeah, because some people will look at some players and think, he's cocky, he's arrogant, sure. But that could be his defense mechanism to stop his nerves.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Because some people handle their nerves differently. So each to their own, whatever fits you, it's what you have to do, Yeah. But I tend to like just go in my zone and be in my space in my head. Yeah.
I think that's fascinating. I really appreciate you sort of. That's probably the most open sort of answer we've had from any sort of players we've interviewed. So I appreciate that. Obviously, then going on from QPR, you went to MK Dons, and in a very strange twist of fate, I think our paths crossed ever so slightly. I was never a professional, but I was at MK Dons just as an under 16. During the half terms and stuff, we'd have come in, and I think you must have been there at the same time. Obviously, I never would have spoken to you or even played against you. I think I went up with the 18s a couple of times, and I never then went on to do anything after that. But I do vaguely remember you being there. So obviously, it was been sort of around 2004, that sort of time. Yeah, obviously, you were obviously the first team and all that, a lot further away from me. But that whole sort of experience of MK Dons, because obviously you'd know being in the first team better than what I would, just as an under 16, but it was a new club and there was a bit of a buzz around there, wasn't there? What was that like for you, that move in that sense?
It was good. I was thankful to Steve Palmer, he was my captain at QPR. He was player coach at MK Dons. When I got released from QPR, I went to Leicester on trial. And all right, it didn't work out. He rang me up and he said, just come and train. I'm not promising you anything, but just come and train, keep yourself fit. He was always good to me at QPR. Yeah, you know what I mean? He said, come and train. So I was come and go in every day to MK and train. And he said, tell me to come in early to do some extra runs with him. One day, the strip manager said to me, I'm going to offer you a non-contract because you ain't got no money. I'm going to offer you a non-contract. So that was my time at MK Dons. It was good. It was a new club to just up there. There's a bit of a buzz around the place. Decent side. I would have loved to stay there, but financially the club weren't there at the time. And what I was getting when I was there, strict murder was like, I don't want you to keep travelling up and down. It's hard on you, so I ain't gonna keep you on much longer. He was honest with me.
Yeah, I think that's one thing we don't realise again from the outside is that with lower league clubs, particularly, just the financial constraints on them, and the impact that has on you as players. What was after the MK Dons sort of situation? What was your sort of options after that in terms of you obviously played at an incredible level before that, so. Was there other places? What happened really?
To be fair, I made a couple of mistakes after MK Dons. I had a contract offer from Forest Green in the conference. Could have signed still there for the season. Could have signed it before I went to MK Dons, but MK Dons came above, and I thought it's league football.
Yeah.
Then it came back again after MK Dons, and then my agent rang me and he was like, Martin Allen wants you in on a week to week at Brentford. And I was thinking, how am I going to turn that down? He goes, they wanted Ben May, I think it was, couldn't get him from Millwall, so he wants me on a week to week.
Right.
And then you never know what could happen. I blew 2 opportunities to sign for Forest Green.
Right.
You know what I mean? So in hindsight, I'll tell the young boys now, if you've got a concrete offer on the table and it's suitable for you, just take it. Especially in the conference Premier, because you can always come back up when you're playing at that level. Yeah,
I think that's we'll probably go on to obviously the fact he's still sort of playing now in that sense, and maybe the experience you've got and what you'd say to maybe younger lads a bit later on. But I think it's obviously fascinating advice in that sense. I suppose we get a bit spoilt nowadays, don't we, with all the riches of the Premier League, and it's not the same in the lower leagues, is it? In that sense.
Different.
So then, obviously, going from sort of then to the Football League, eventually, I think at Worthing, you sort of put a bit of a run together in that sense. What was the biggest difference going from, professional football to obviously then non-league? And I know that obviously it's not part-time or full-time, but, even on the football pitch, what is the sort of biggest differences would you say as a player?
Oh, as a player, I was fit, but I wasn't as fit as I was before.
Right.
Because you used to play twice a week. But that's down to yourself. You've got to motivate yourself. It was hard finding that balance of being part-time and come to terms that I'm in non-league football. Every game I played kept asking me, why am I at this level?
Yeah.
So then it started affecting me mentally. But in terms of football-wise, the wavelength, I was making 4 or 5 runs and they're not seeing it, whereas before I'll make a run and I get it.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So it's your whole game. You have to change your whole game when you come to non-league football, especially when you come from a good standing of league football.
You get the impression that non-league football is a lot more long ball, physical, blood and thunder sort of thing compared to the Football League. Is it actually like that? Our team's a lot more direct, or not really? Is that?
Well, you get some teams that's direct, but you get a lot of teams that want to pop the ball. Like I remember playing against Bognor Regis, and I was like, hang on a minute. Their man was shouting at the keeper. He told the keeper, I will take you off if you keep the ball long. And we're stopping them from playing out. You know what I mean? So there's teams that want to play football, but with the non-league, physically strong, get kicked, get chirpy players, so I learned a lot. I think it improved me more as a player when I came to non-league because I learned how to use my body more, stronger, and all my other qualities I had from the league game, bringing a bit of the roughness in my game, made me more of a complete player. That's why I think I've had a long in the non-league game, because what I do, there ain't many strikers out there that play the way I play as a number 9.
No, I think I think it's testament to your character as well, like we were saying earlier about that sort of mentality, that side of the game. In terms of that mentality, did you expect maybe when you did drop down to walk it a little bit? And I'm not saying you should have expected that, but we've spoken to like some other pros who've gone pro, like professional and then sort of non-league, and they've expected to walk into a team and then found it a massive shock.
No, I just wanted to try and score as much goals as possible, so someone could say he's banging goals, we're going to bring him back into the league. But it never happened. So,
no. Did you have offers at all during that sort of? I mean, we'll go on to a bit more about you sort of, when you moved on from that. But, it's particularly like you say about the Brentford whole Martin Allen thing, and then, post that, was there other offers to go back into the Football League or?
No, I could have gone abroad, to be fair, when I got released from QPR. Could have gone to Den Haag in Holland.
Yeah.
But my last year at QPR, I had a child, I had a daughter. So that changed the whole dynamic of thinking.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna go abroad, and then my mentality was just England, like in England. And now I say to the young ones, if you got to go abroad, you've got better opportunity over there. I could have gone in the Australian one team in New Zealand as well. Right. But I thought that's far.
I think that's again something we're not, we probably don't take into account when you see players move from club to club is the family side of it, or not just family, but stuff outside of football, and I think.
we'll talk about your sort of moves later on, but how much of that was influenced by, your work or family, or and not just you personally, but I think a lot of pros even, you just see sort of player A go into club B and then think, oh, why on earth would he do that? But actually, there's a lot more to it, isn't there? In that sense.
Yeah.
So obviously then that sort of, led on to what, a lot of people would talk to you about, which is your time at Havant Waterlooville, and in particular that one game. But before we get to that, because, I'm sure you've probably spoken about it lots and it was an amazing experience. But in terms of the actual club and the cup run and all of that, did you, as a team, did you feel like you were ever going to get to that sort of height as a club? And was there some good players in there and things like that who maybe could have played a bit higher like yourself almost? Or how did that sort of work?
Our team was decent.
Yeah.
Our team was probably the most underachieving team.
Yeah.
Like we should have got promoted out of that league.
Right.
With the players that we had. We've had players that are like me, been in the football league and come down, or been in academies and come out. It was a very strong, experienced, solid squad. The year before, we got the first round and lost to Millwall. We played it at Pratton Park.
Yeah.
We only lost like 2-1 or something like that.
Right.
We knew it was a decent side, and that year we started well. So the run away from home as well just showed our character.
Yeah, because it wasn't an easy one either. Teams got Swansea and that on the way. Obviously, that game against Liverpool, I suppose it'd be remiss of me to not talk to you about that while you're here. But obviously, I suppose you've been asked a lot of questions of what it's like and stuff. But on a personal level, did you honestly believe you'd score before you went out there?
I called it the week before.
Oh, really? Did you?
Yeah, I told in the local bookies near my mum's house. I went in there because they're all Liverpool supporters and they all follow my career and that. I said, like, boys, I'm 50-1 now. I'll score.
Yeah.
I said if I get a chance, I'll score. And I had a good record against Liverpool in the academy. I've scored 2s and whatnot. So I remember the day before the game in the hotel, I rang up Gary Waddock, who was my youth team manager.
Yeah.
We just had a chat, go and enjoy the game. And I said, Gal, I always had a good record. I'm going to score tomorrow if I get a chance. He used to call me Ronaldo. Yeah, right. R9, because I loved him.
Yeah.
So he went, Ronaldo, just go enjoy the game. I said, remember why I said this? And so said, so done. So, but I knew from, especially in the game, from the set pieces, we had a couple corners, and I noticed I was unmarked a lot of the time, and the ball was falling just a little bit short.
Yeah.
So on the next one, it was Mo Harkin that took it, I think. Just the Mo, overcook it, just overcook it a bit more.
Yeah.
And he did it, and it dropped to me, and I scored. So
yeah,
I'm delighted with that.
Oh, of course, no. I think it's no one can ever take that experience away. But I think I sort of the question I've always wanted to ask is then as a player who's been in the football league and played at that, did you have a bit more of a leadership in that sort of team, particularly going into a game like that? Because you'd have already played at, the Millennium Stadium. Yeah. There must have been lads there who obviously have just only ever played, non-league football and going to Anfield and all of that sort of thing.
To be fair, I was thriving off it, but my strike partner, Rocky Baptiste, he played for Farnborough at Highbury against Arsenal.
Of course, yeah.
So he's had that similar, and my other mate, Tony Taggart, as well.
Right, yeah.
There's a few of us that had decent runs and played in big stadiums. So, So I think that's what helped us on the runs as well, because quite a lot of players have played in big games and know what it's about. But I wouldn't say I was the leader. There was louder characters in that change room,
right,
than me. I was just more humble.
No, I think it's fascinating. I suppose we could do a whole sort of episode just about that one game. But I want to ask you a question, put you on the spot a little bit. As a player individually, what game would mean more to you? That although it was a loss, playing at the Millennium Stadium for for QPR in that playoff final, or that game at Anfield, because I suppose they're different emotions, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I don't want you to upset a set of fans either.
No. I always said the Millennium Stadium just because of the season. I started that season in Holloway's bad books, and then I was out the side, and I forced myself back in. I came in from loan. And then he sat me down and said, right, I ain't been fair with you. I'm going to give you a run of games. And that's my chance.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was Millennium Stadium, it's a shame it wasn't Wembley. I would have been buzzing if it was Wembley. The fact that it was a playoff final as well, it was a great achievement. My age as well, at the age of, I was 19, I think I was.
Exactly.
But it's hard to pick because
I
say that one, but then I think about my emotion walking out onto Anfield. And I've never had that emotion before.
Yeah.
Like, I was nearly in tears. Like, I've never cried. Like when you hear them singing "You Never Walk Alone," the whole stadium, crazy. It was crazy, and I was like, "It's happening." Like, and then I started thinking about match of the day and all that stuff. Started going and then I got on the pitch and I thought, take a deep breath. Once I took that big deep breath, I was like, yeah, I'm ready. That feeling, even when I think about it, I saw someone sent me the video of us walking out the tunnel the other day, and that gave me that same feeling again. So that's it was special.
You can never take that away from you.
Yeah.
You obviously mentioned there about how good a side it was at Havant Waterlooville, and obviously the whole experience that we just spoken about. You then went to Maidenhead. What sort of happened to the team? Was it just not that it hit ceiling? Because obviously you said they were more than good enough to get out of there, but it sort of broke up a little bit. What sort of happened there, and how did you end up at Maidenhead?
I'm just going to be real. So after that game, I went on international duty for Dominica. They offered me a new deal for the next season. I was like, I mean, talk about it when the season's finished. I don't think that the manager was happy with that at the time. And then he just froze me out. I was on the bench. I was just sat on the bench and I was thinking, what's going on? And then he said that I can go on loan.
Right.
Yeah. And I was like, all right. These times now, I said, okay, that's fine. In my head, I was thinking, right. We was like 7th in the league at the time. But then he goes, you can go on loan. I had three clubs in the top 5 that all wanted me. One that was top, one that was second, one was third.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And then I was like, hang on a minute. So I had someone that sort of worked with me and looked after me. And he knew Drax, Maidenhead. And I sort of knew Drax. Drax knew my dad and stuff.
Yeah.
And they were fighting relegation at the time. And then like they said they'd take me on loan for the end of the season. So I said, all right, I'll go there. And then when I went in there, the chairman said, keep us up. And then I'll look after you next season. I went there, scored like 3 or 5 games.
Yeah.
And he kept his word.
Yeah.
And then I stayed there the following season.
Yeah.
And then I stopped working that season. Thought I'm going to do bits every day, get myself in shape. And now it's probably my best season. I scored 22, 23 goals.
Yeah.
Then got moved to York.
Yeah.
In the conference. So.
That's what I was going to sort of touch on. Obviously, that record, I think, you'd know better than me, but even to some players, maybe dropping down a league to then go, and then build your way back up in that sense. But before we sort of go on to that bit, you obviously mentioned about the international call-up and all of that.
Yeah.
How does that work? Because obviously, from the outside, you just sort of see someone who's playing well and then next thing they're playing for the national team. Is there like, not negotiations, but you have to sort of, and if you don't mind me saying, particularly with a nation like Dominica, where it's slightly smaller FA and all that kind of thing. How does that sort of work, really?
Yeah, it was in the pipeline for a long time, but over there, they're so rubbish at organising things and doing things correctly. Yeah, that's the only reason why. That's one of the reasons why the club. But I said to the club, it's not my fault. I'm trying to get them to do things properly. Because I said to them, you have to do things properly because I'm going to miss games for my team.
Yeah,
because it was World Cup qualifiers. But in the end, the chairman was they're just not organised, and there's a few of us from London that went over there.
Yeah,
and played the first leg and then played the second leg about 10 days later in Barbados, which was good.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can imagine that'd be not the worst place to play football, is it? In that sense.
Yeah.
You obviously mentioned the 2 games in that sense. What is the difference? Is because we, as a football fan, you always get this cliche of international football slower and all of that. But is that true? You've obviously done it. Or is there much of a difference between, say, even professional or non-league football and then international football?
It was a bit slower. We had a tough game because my island, the team is okay. It's not the best. Whereas we played Barbados and they got League One players. Yeah. They had Championship players. They had conference players. So it was a good standard. They had Emerson Boyce, Jonathan Fort, and players like that. So, but no, it's more slow because obviously you got the heat as well. That's a slower pace, but very technical.
Yeah. No, of course. Yeah. So we obviously then, you come back and we mentioned about that just a minute ago about the sort of going across, doing well at Maidenhead and going across to York. So obviously in terms of that, was the ambition then to maybe sort of play in the conference and then maybe move on from there? Or was it to sort of just you're just happy to be playing by that point in that sense?
No, I was just trying to, in the end, when that first season at Maidenhead, I thought, I'm going to give it a go, I'm going to give it a push. I can probably nick it to a League One move or conference. So I'm going to not work, push myself and see what happens. And then I got them to York and I thought, this is it now. I can do well at York. It's full time. But unfortunately, obviously I had a few injuries that year and we had a fantastic year. We got finished in the playoff. We lost in the playoff final, got in the playoffs. we went on a 15-game unbeaten run to get in the playoffs.
Wow.
So yeah. So when I was on the bench, I was in and out. I had Richard Brody up front, who scored like 30 plus goals that year.
Yeah.
And Michael Rankin, he scored like 18 or 19 goals. And me and Michael Gash were just sitting there on the bench. So
just like those 4 names alone, it's not a bad set of strikers to have in your team. So
yeah.
In terms of that, Richard, if you don't mind me asking, and not on a financial perspective, but just like you're obviously at York, Eastbourne, Hayes, Lincoln, not whole sort of thing in the conference. Were all of those full time, or was some of it part time? How did it sort of work for you on a personal level?
So York was full time, Eastbourne was part time. Yeah. So when I left York, I always wanted to stay in the conference. My aim was just to stay in the conference Premier League.
Yeah.
So then Eastbourne came in for me, offered me a good deal, part time. I was there for a year. Obviously, we got relegated the following year. Then I wanted to stay in the conference. I was training with Forest Green again.
Yeah.
Under what's his name? Holiday. I played him pre-season. He liked me, told me come back. But then after one game I played, he was keen on signing me. I got a phone call on my way home after the game, and Hayes just offered me a deal straight away. I thought, I'm not doing what I did before. And
no.
Yeah. So I said, all right, cool. I signed for Hayes, played half the season, just before Christmas. The manager went a bit funny, and then he was leaving me out. And then I knew I got a call from David Holsworth, and he said he wants to sign me. So I knew I was going Lincoln anyway, which is full time.
Yeah.
So I left Hayes and went to Maidenhead just for 4 weeks, because me and Drax built up that relationship now.
Of course.
So help him out. So I went for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Keep myself and help him out.
Mm-hmm.
So I went there, played 5 games, I think. I scored 5 and 5 or something like that. And then in January, I just went to Lincoln. That was full time. Lincoln was good as well. It was back full time, proper big football club, big city, and I enjoyed it. But obviously, financially, at the end of that season, the manager wanted to keep me, but they couldn't do it.
If you don't mind me asking, again, I'm not after, I'm not prying for any sort of personal information from that, but those periods of going full time, part time, full time, in terms of supporting, like you say, obviously a daughter and things like that, and a family and all of that. What did you do in those part time days? Again, obviously, when you're full time, I suppose you're full time, aren't you? Did you have another job while you're doing it and all that sort of thing? How did that work?
When I was at Eastbourne, I was earning enough to survive.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Hayes and Yeading, I was doing odd bits in here, like school with my mum work,
right,
like youth work sort of kind of thing.
Of course,
because I used to work there before when I was at Worthing.
Yeah.
So I went back there, and then Maidenhead, my second spot at Maidenhead, our captain, he used to run a tyre warehouse place.
Right.
So a few of us worked for him, delivering tyres to different car showrooms and stuff like that. So,
fair play,
I've done different jobs here and there.
Now
I'm back in the secondary school that I went to. So.
Right. Oh yeah. I was going to say we'll get onto that in a bit, sort of towards the end. But in terms of that, so you had a very good record in the conference. In terms of scoring goals, and I know you mentioned about injuries and things like that, which obviously must have an impact on your career. But was there any interest of you moving up?
No, I'd never heard anything. No. There might have been this, but what I noticed that it was sort of the younger ones getting the moves and not the experienced and seasoned ones. No,
I get what you mean actually. So after Lincoln, sort of, what were you thinking? What were your options then? What were you going to do? Like you say, unfortunately, it was sort of the financial.
Yeah. So after Lincoln, I had a missus up there at the time, so I thought I might stay up in the conference north. So I played a game with Gainsborough, which is up the road. They're a decent side because we used to play them. They play good football, and I knew players out there anyway.
Yeah.
So I was actually going to sign them, and then the next day got a phone call. Bromley want to sign me, and they offered me a decent deal, and I was like, more than what I was there, and I thought, I'll take that.
Yeah, of course. No, absolutely.
So,
well, you know better than me. It's such a short career, isn't it?
Yeah. So I ended up signing for Bromley. It was worth it.
If you know what I mean, I've sort of written this question before speaking to you, and now having spoken to you, I think I probably could sort of guess the answer. But how do you approach going into a new team? Because obviously, like you say, maybe there was a period where, as you mentioned about non-league football, where you do chop and change. And I'm only a grassroots player, but even I've done it a lot. What's your mentality? Going into a new side, how is it to settle in?
I just try and come in, I make myself known and say hello. I'm just quite humble, innit? I like to get my feet on the table and express myself, and I just advise, if I see something, I'll advise people and just be normal. I just carry on like I've been there for a while,
Yeah.
The best thing to do is just try and fit in and just hold conversations, innit? Like, you don't have to be everyone's best friend, but hold conversation. And that's why I think I got a lot in the game, because everywhere I've been, I've had time for people. People's asked me questions or asked me advice, and I've got time to try and help someone out.
Yeah.
We're all in it together. Everyone's got their own journey. Any information from someone that's got experience is valuable.
Yeah, I think that's really admirable. And I think actually, even from my limited experience of playing, there's some lads who maybe, haven't played the same level as you, but have still played a bit higher and are a bit more selfish about that. So I think it's very admirable of you to sort of be like that. I just wanted to sort of bring us up to date, really. So I know there was, spells at Maidenhead and teams like that, but you're obviously playing for Harefield now. And obviously you mentioned about what you're doing outside of football as well. Do you feel like you're in that position now as a player and outside of having a lot of life experience and sort of and sharing that? Is that maybe why you're still playing almost in a sense? Is that the motivation a little bit?
Yeah, I still play because I can. I'm still fit. I can run. Yeah. I'm still scoring goals. If I'm player coach, so I do.
Yeah.
I do a bit of coaching forwards to help out with the 18s as well. By the time help the manager out, I enjoy it. Still, yeah. I still got that buzz. I still get that buzz. I miss football. I don't hate it. And I've been all right with injuries, So
yeah,
that's my motivation for it, and just to help good young players that's coming through in non-league. That's one that wants to get into the football league.
Yeah,
and just to be that person to try and guide them with the right information.
No, I appreciate it. I think it's just before we move on, we've got some quick fire questions to finish off with. Is there any ambition for you to maybe get involved in coaching full time?
I think I could be a manager. I'm not sure if I want to be a manager straight away.
Yeah,
I like to be part of someone's back, an assistant. It's now anyway. I do some one-to-ones as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think coaching in football, will be there, or maybe an agent.
Yeah,
because an agent is an agent. You need someone that's going to guide you and say the right things and do the right things and making sure you're on the right track and being there for you, not just an agent, but all round.
I think speaking to you, I think you'd make a very good one because I think you've got the interests of the player. Not that, I've never worked with agents, but, you do hear stories of some who would exploit people. I think, you'd be the opposite of that, which probably need more people like you in the game from that sense. But I just wanted to move on to, we sort of do it with everyone that we interview, some quick fire questions. Yeah. So you've probably got the toughest of the favourite games that we've ever had, but we'll move on to that at the end. So first of all, and you can only have one answer, please, unfortunately, but your favourite ever ground you've ever played at?
Feyenoord.
Oh, really? Wow. What's that like?
Decent.
Oh, really?
First time I've ever been in a change room that's underneath the ground where the floor opens up and you walk up.
That's incredible. They're so passionate about the football as well, the Dutch, aren't they? So like,
I've played in the tournament for QPR, under 19s tournament.
Right.
We played out there, and It was in the stadium. Decent.
So the next one, in terms of across any part of your career, who's your favourite manager?
Gary Waddock.
Oh, really? So is that because of the sort of youth sort of thing, that formative time, really? In that sense?
And the relationship and how he is as a coach.
Yeah,
he's a coach that tells you he's shouting at you, show me something, express yourself. I like that.
Yeah, I think that we probably don't hear enough of that, especially at grassroots football. But I think, I appreciate you sort of saying that. So who's the best player you've played with?
I played with a few,
Yeah, that's what I mean. Do you know what? We've done quite a few of these interviews, and yours is probably the least clear cut of in terms of answers that you could give, because you've had so many different players you could have played with that are fantastic, to be honest.
I'm gonna name two.
Go on, yeah, you can have two. Go on. Seeing as
Leon Knight.
Yeah.
And Jerome Thomas.
Really? Because Leon Knight, you hear so much about him, like obviously him growing up with Defoe and all of that. Like apparently he was unplayable, wasn't he? When he was.
We used to have an argument that he was better than Defoe.
Oh, really?
All round for his size.
Yeah.
He can head. He can shoot both foot.
Yeah.
He's got touch. He's a joke.
Oh, really?
He's an absolute joke. Technically, absolute joke.
Yeah.
My mate Lyndon Duncan was at QPR, but then he left for Lillishore.
Right.
I used to go and watch him when he went. And I used to watch them, and they used to just batter teams. It was a joke.
Oh, mate. And then obviously Jerome Thomas had a brilliant career as well for back of it, didn't he? So we've got two more to go. The best player you played against, and again, you can have a couple for this because you've played against some unbelievable footballers, to be fair to you.
I think Mascherano was decent.
Yeah.
As a defender, Sylvain Distin.
Oh, really?
He surprised me.
Really? In what sense?
I just thought he was just a big lad.
Yeah.
But he's actually an animal and quick.
Oh, really? You don't think that about him, do you? You obviously a sort of aerial thing, but not
and quick.
Yeah.
We played them in the old Farnborough Cup.
Right.
And I was quick back then, and I went to run in, and I thought, I'm not getting away from him. He's still there. He was actually quick.
And then the last question is, we started this series out. We just interviewed fans, not pros like yourself or anything like that, and it was just their favourite ever game that they've been to. So what we'll do is we'll give you two. So your favourite ever game that you've played in, which you've got some incredible ones to choose from, but also the favourite ever game that you've ever watched, so you've not been involved in. So whether it be on the TV or at the stadium or anything like that. So I don't know which one you want to go with first.
I've got favourite game I played in. I'll say against Liverpool.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and best game I've watched. There's been so many good games on TV.
Yeah.
There's been so many good games.
Yeah. You can take us for a couple then if you want, if it's easier for you.
I'll go when Brazil won the World Cup, when Ronaldo came back from adversity.
Yeah.
I'll say, because I love Ronaldo.
Yeah. He was unreal. Do you know what it is? I think, I'm only in my early 30s, and you speak to some youngsters now. Like, I only do a little bit of coaching locally.
Yeah.
You speak to some of these teenagers, and they just don't know about him, and you just sort of think, you have no idea. Like, they're banging about these players, but he was just unreal, wasn't he?
I tell the kids at school to go on YouTube and tap in R9 Ronaldo.
Literally unplayable, but I think the shame is that I don't think there'll be another one like him, because probably the way football is nowadays, it's so it's changed so much, isn't it? Where you're talking about that expressing yourself, and probably someone like him.
And Mbappe probably be the closest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But even then, I still think Ronaldo was just like the way he used to sit defenders on their backside. Without even touching the ball, really. It was just like unreal. But Richard, I can't thank you enough for giving up your time. I've genuinely, it's been my favourite one to do. I've loved every minute of it. So I appreciate you doing that, and obviously all the best with the rest of the football and all that. So
all right, cheers, mate.